The champagne bottle was still tilted over my head when I realized the woman laughing the loudest was my wife. Cold liquid ran down my face, soaked into my expensive suit, and dripped onto the polished marble floor of the Manhattan penthouse. Around me, executives from across the country laughed, clapped, and raised their glasses. My wife, Victoria, stood beside the table holding the bottle with a triumphant smile, celebrating the promotion that would make her the new CEO of one of America's most powerful corporations. She looked at me as if I were nothing more than an embarrassing stranger who had wandered into the wrong party. What she didn't know was that the company she had just been promoted to lead, valued at more than $20 billion, belonged to me. If you believe people deserve kindness, second chances, and respect regardless of their position, take a moment to like this story, share it with someone who needs to hear it, and subscribe to the channel. Because sometimes the person everyone underestimates is the one holding the power to change everything. My name is Nathan Brooks, and for most of my marriage, I had learned to become invisible. 5 years earlier, Victoria and I had started our life together in a small apartment in Brooklyn. Back then, she was ambitious, intelligent, and full of dreams. I was working quietly behind the scenes, building something I never talked about. I had founded a technology and logistics company called Meridian Atlas when I was 28. What began with one rented office and 3 employees eventually became a nationwide corporation serving airlines, hospitals, shipping companies, and major retailers. But I never wanted fame. I never wanted my face on magazine covers or my name attached to skyscrapers. I had watched my father lose everything because he cared more about appearing successful than actually being happy. So I created a private ownership structure and placed myself behind a family investment trust. To the public, Meridian Atlas belonged to a board of investors. Only a handful of people knew I was the controlling owner. Victoria knew I worked in business, but she believed I was nothing more than a mid-level consultant who occasionally worked from home. I never corrected her. At first, she admired my quiet nature. She used to tell me that she loved the fact that I never needed applause. But success slowly changed her. When Meridian Atlas expanded, Victoria became fascinated with corporate power. She wanted a bigger title, a larger office, and a name people recognized. I supported her completely. When she received a management position at Meridian Atlas, I was secretly proud. I knew she had earned it through hard work. I could have simply handed her a promotion, but I refused because I wanted her achievements to be hers. Over the next 3 years, she climbed the corporate ladder. She became regional director, then vice president, and eventually chief operating officer. Every promotion made her more distant from me. At home, she stopped asking about my day. She stopped noticing when I came home exhausted. She began comparing me with wealthy executives she met at work. Sometimes she would casually mention how impressive their cars were or how confidently they spoke at meetings. I swallowed the hurt because I still loved her. Then came the announcement. Meridian Atlas had removed its aging CEO after a difficult year and selected a new leader. Victoria was chosen. The announcement shocked Wall Street. The company was valued at nearly $20 billion, and Victoria was about to become its youngest CEO in history. She was thrilled. I was proud. I arranged everything for the celebration without telling her. I personally approved the venue, the guest list, and the charity donation that would be made in her name. I even ordered a private plaque recognizing her achievements. I thought the night would bring us closer. Instead, it revealed everything I had refused to see. The celebration took place in a luxurious Manhattan penthouse overlooking the Hudson River. Executives filled the room, champagne flowed, and cameras flashed as Victoria entered wearing an emerald green suit. She looked beautiful. For a moment, I forgot everything that had happened between us. I walked toward her with a small velvet box in my hand, hoping to surprise her with a diamond necklace. But before I could reach her, one of her colleagues stopped me. "Nathan, what are you doing here?" I smiled and explained that I was Victoria's husband. The executive looked surprised and then laughed awkwardly. Another person whispered something into his ear. Victoria noticed. Instead of defending me, she walked over and smiled coldly. She told everyone I was harmless and that I had insisted on coming because I apparently needed to feel important during her big night. The room laughed. I felt my face burn. I tried to smile. Then Victoria took the champagne bottle. She jokingly asked whether I wanted to celebrate too. Before I could answer, she poured it over my head. The laughter became louder. Someone filmed it. Someone else clapped. Victoria laughed harder than anyone. I stood there silently, champagne dripping from my hair and collar. Then she leaned close and told me that maybe now I finally looked successful enough to stand beside her. Those words hurt more than the champagne. I placed the velvet box back into my pocket. I didn't shout. I didn't threaten her. I simply walked toward the elevator. But before the doors closed, I heard a voice behind me. Mr. Brooks? I turned. It was Michael Carter, the chairman of Meridian Atlas. His face was pale. He looked at Victoria. Then he looked at me. He asked if I was leaving before the board presentation. Victoria laughed and said there was no board presentation tonight. It was her celebration. Michael stared at her in disbelief. Then he said the words that made the entire room go silent. The board presentation is for the owner. Victoria frowned. Michael looked directly at me. He said, Mr. Nathan Brooks, controlling owner of Meridian Atlas, requested the meeting for 8:30. Nobody moved. Victoria's smile disappeared. The champagne bottle slipped from her hand and shattered on the marble floor. I stepped out of the elevator. For the first time that evening, everyone was looking at me differently. Michael followed me into the hallway and quietly apologized. I told him it wasn't his fault. Then I returned to the room. Victoria looked like she had seen a ghost. She asked whether it was true. I didn't answer immediately. I looked around the room at the people who had laughed while she humiliated me. Then I looked at my wife. I told her that Meridian Atlas wasn't simply a company where I worked. I had built it. I owned it. And the board had promoted her because I had personally approved her appointment. The room fell completely silent. Victoria's face crumbled. She remembered every time she had mocked my job. Every time she had complained that I wasn't ambitious enough. Every time she had compared me to richer men. Then she asked why I had never told her. I told her the truth. I wanted to know whether she loved Nathan Brooks or the success she thought Nathan could give her. She began crying. She said she had been wrong. She said the pressure of becoming CEO had changed her and that she had allowed pride to replace gratitude. I wanted to forgive her immediately. But forgiveness isn't the same as pretending nothing happened. I told her that I loved the woman she used to be, but I couldn't continue living as the man she was ashamed to stand beside. Then I did something nobody expected. I didn't fire her. I told the board that Victoria would remain CEO, but she would have to earn back the trust she had lost. Her first responsibility would be to establish an employee dignity program across every Meridian Atlas office. No employee, regardless of position, would ever again be publicly humiliated by someone with more power. Victoria agreed through tears. Months passed. Our marriage did not magically become perfect. We separated for a while. During that time, Victoria changed. She stopped chasing applause. She began visiting employee families affected by layoffs. She created scholarships for workers' children. She started listening instead of commanding. One evening, nearly a year after the celebration, I received a handwritten letter from her. She didn't ask for my money. She didn't ask for my position. She simply thanked me for teaching her that power means nothing if you use it to make someone else feel small. She asked for one more chance. I met her at the same Manhattan restaurant where we had celebrated our first anniversary. She looked different. Not because of her clothes or her title. Because there was humility in her eyes. She told me she had finally understood something. The most valuable thing she had ever lost wasn't her reputation. It was my trust. I reached across the table and held her hand. We didn't promise that everything would be easy. We promised that if we rebuilt our marriage, we would build it on honesty. 1 year later, Victoria remained CEO of Meridian Atlas. And I remained mostly invisible. But every Christmas, she made one tradition a priority. She would gather the entire executive team and personally thank the employees who rarely received recognition, the assistants, drivers, cleaners, technicians, security guards, and support staff. She always ended the celebration with the same lesson. Never laugh at someone simply because you believe they are beneath you. Because you never know what they have survived. You never know what they have built. And you never know how important they may become in your life. If this story touched your heart, please like the video, share it with someone who believes that kindness matters, and subscribe for more stories about humility, second chances, and unexpected justice. And before you leave, comment, respect matters, if you believe a person's worth should never be measured by their job, their clothes, or their bank account. Because sometimes the quietest person in the room isn't powerless. Sometimes they're simply choosing not to use their power against you. And sometimes, the greatest victory isn't watching someone fall. It's watching them become a better person after they finally understand what they almost lost.